Welcome to Distressed to Joyful, Bailey's Way. I'm your host, Bailey Raber, here to enlighten you and the rest of the world about one of the most misunderstood mental disorders out there, bipolar disorder. Each week, we're going to learn more about my personal journey with the disorder while leaving you enriched with new information on how you can help better yourself as well as those around you. Hey, friends. I've got a very exciting life update for you. As of this weekend, I am officially debt free. Yes, I am 27 years old with zero debt to my name. And y'all, it feels so great. I can't even begin to describe how great it feels. And guys, I'm telling you this because according to an article I found written by the CNBC in August of 2018, the average American has around $38,000 in personal debt. 38,000, and that's not including any mortgage loans that might be around. Y'all, what the fuck? Like seriously, that is insane. So while I was fortunate enough to stop racking up all of my debt before it reached that high of an amount, I still made many, many, many financial mistakes in my early 20s that I spent my mid 20s fixing up until this weekend. Like, seriously, it sucked, guys. I'm not going to lie, it sucked. I spent all of 2019. Oh, that was the year. That was my turnaround year right after I turned 25. I spent all of 19 just figuring out how to become more financially responsible. And let me just tell you why it sucked. It sucked because I learned that I was spending more than I was making. It sucked because I learned that I was living way above my means and that the apartment I was living in was costing well over 30% of my take home pay monthly. And it sucked because I didn't have any savings. I had maxed out my credit card. I was living paycheck to paycheck, and it just sucked. It sucked. But fixing it also sucked because that means I had to put in a plan and I had to be so disciplined. But y'all, it was worth it in the end, man. It was so worth it. And the biggest things in 2019 that really sucked about being disciplined was one, I was very, very disciplined on how often I ate out. I would allow myself to eat out once a week maximum. I gave myself a budget of how much I could spend. And I would only go out to eat with people if it was somewhere I really wanted to go. So the bright side of that was I learned how to say no and not waste my money on things I didn't even want to do in the first place. But the thing that sucked about it was I had to say no to a lot of things that I really wanted to do because I told myself I could not afford it. All my extra income needed to go to savings or paying off some of these stupid debts I had. And I remember probably the biggest one that I was just so upset about was when my whole Camp Gladiator group, like 50 plus people, guys, and remember, this is 2019, 50 plus people all went to the Astros game together, and all of their seats were all near each other, and it was $35 a seat. And I had to say no because I couldn't afford to spend $35 just to get into the game, mind you, not any of the food that would have been bought there or anything bought for food afterwards or anything like that. But $35. Guys, when you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're trying to figure things out, $35 to go towards something recreational and leisurely like an Astros game is not worth it. As badly as I wanted to go, I said no, and I had some extreme FOMO, and it sucked. But you know what? Then the pandemic hit in 2020, and I was a lot better off financially because I spent all of 2019 saying no to things that I told myself I could not afford. Guys, I'm telling you this because if I can do this, if I can figure out in my, mid 20s what to do to minimize and then finally to eliminate my personal debt, then so can you. And yeah, it's going to be hard, but I'm telling you, it is totally worth it. totally worth it. And I could spend the entire duration of this episode just talking about this one subject. But what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to go ahead and write an article that's going to include a ton of the free information that I found online and what I use to help me figure out how to achieve my own financial freedom. Yeah, I did it without an advisor, guys. I didn't pay somebody any money to try to figure out how to get me debt free. I figured it out on my own. I'm going to do that for you. And I really, really hope that hearing how I was able to achieve this, a 20 something, will inspire you to do whatever it is necessary that will move you towards achieving your own financial freedom. It's a beautiful thing and makes me sad that more Americans don't have it. So, yeah. Anyways, that's my exciting announcement for this week. I hope that was exciting enough for some of you guys. But let's move on to today's episode. And in case you weren't aware, guys, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I kicked it off with episode 5. Stop doing this right now. But today we're going to discuss healthy versus unhealthy. Yeah, so what does that even mean? Let's start with some definitions. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, healthy is defined as showing physical, mental, or emotional well being, evincing good health, not displaying clinical signs of disease or infection. And the word unhealthy is defined as not in good health, sickly, or diseased. All right, so I'm sure you're now very curious as to where this is going, but I promise you that there is a method to my madness, and this topic is actually going to piggyback on last episode. Haha, yes. And it kind of piggybacks on the whole thoughts of how our words really matter. Okay? So, with that being said, it is story time. Yes, I'm going to tell you guys a bit of a story, and that's going to bring some sense made. It's going to help this all make some sense. Yeah, that's what I meant. Anyways. All right. So, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, then you've heard me mention time and time again here and there throughout the whole podcast that I've had some success with weight loss in the not so distant past. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, first of all, welcome. Glad you're here. Love that you're here. Please stay. We love it. But I'll give you a brief run through of my weight loss success. So, back in 2018, I had hit my heaviest weight ever. I was just very unhappy person. I was unhappy with my body, with myself, with my life, just everything. And it was just rock bottom. Right around my sister's birthday, actually, so January in 2018, I got the flu for the second time that flu season and got on the scale and saw a really large number, and I didn't want to do it anymore. So I decided to get serious, and I was very, very fortunate enough to find Camp Gladiator. It's an amazing workout community that is here local in Texas and a couple other states. And being a part of Camp Gladiator not only taught me to love exercise, but it also taught me about proper nutrition that led to me losing a total of about 60 pounds. Obviously, not all at once. I'm not a superhuman. But while all of that was going on, and while I spent months of exercising and, giving myself proper nutrition, I also began some serious work with my therapist, Chelsea, in regards to learning how to love myself and finding what it truly meant for me to be happy. Yeah, just what makes me happy and how to keep that around. But here's the kicker. So my therapist, I've been seeing her since 2012. It's been almost a decade now. But I kind of took a little break from her back in the final quarter of 2017. I couldn't afford it financially. My parents cut me off. Long story short, I hadn't seen her in a little over a year by the time I started seeing her again for some sessions in January of 2019. And by January of 2019, I had lost about 30 pounds already. and I only had about 20 more to hit my weight loss goal, and I was just feeling better. I wasn't feeling great, obviously. I mean, I'm back in my therapist's office again, so if I'm coming back after being gone, I mean, you kinda get a little clue there that something's not all that great. But the weight loss was coming through, and I was excited to walk into her office because she hadn't seen me in so long. She didn't know I'd lost any weight, and I was really, really excited for her to see, me improving and me losing some weight and wonder what she would say. And when I walked into her office in January of 2019, you wanna know what that first thing that came out of her mouth was as I walked through her door? She literally said this. She looked at me, she said, "Wow, you look healthy." And then moved on to whatever we were starting with or taking payment for the visit or something like that. And y'all, let me just tell you, I was pissed. Oh man, I was so pissed. I thought to myself, I was like, healthy. I look healthy? Like, dude, I just spent the last 8 months trying to lose weight and I finally got 30 pounds off and I'm only 20 more away from my goal. And she can't even tell me that she thinks that I look skinny? Like, what the fuck? Y'all, I was seriously thinking that. I was seriously so pissed at her because everyone around me, they'd all been telling me, "Oh, you're starting to look so skinny, blah, blah, blah." And everybody kept calling me skinny, skinny, skinny since I was starting to lose weight. And I was like, who does my therapist think she is not saying the same thing? Like, why does she not think I'm skinny? Everybody else does. Yo, I seriously thought that. Isn't it? Oh my God. I'm like laughing at myself right now because I'm like, oh, Bailey, you're a mess. So here's where the underlying story really begins and what we're gonna get into discussion today. Because as time went on, and as I did more work with Chelsea, and I read more self-help books, and I listened to more TED Talks and uplifting podcasts, I began to see that she was right. That skinny is not an adjective that we should be striving for. Healthy is. Should I reread the definition of healthy for you again? Because, guys, there are plenty of skinny people out there in the world who would not be considered healthy. And in my opinion, that word is just so damaging because it can actually cause people to move into the direction of an eating disorder, which is incredibly damaging to the human body. But let's go ahead and let's flip the coin the other way. Let's talk about the word fat, the opposite of skinny. So I can tell you from experience that being called fat for years, which I was called fat for plenty of years, it was incredibly shaming for me. And yeah, I was overweight at the time when people were calling me this. And that doesn't mean that it's the adjective that they should have used. Whether they were saying it to actually be an asshole, which some people did, or they were just using it as a descriptive word for my body type, it was still shaming and it was still hurtful. And it caused me to get into more depression, which caused me to eat more food, which the cycle continued, guys. It did. And y'all, believe it or not, you can be overweight and still healthier than that quote skinny person sitting next to you. That is a damn true fact, y'all. You can. Here's an example. We're just going to talk about a quick little example with that. But let's say that we've got an overweight person here on our left, and they're eating healthy and they're exercising. And yeah, they put on weight for years, but they're working to undo it. And they are slowly but surely getting some weight down, but they're exercising, they're getting proper nutrition, they're sleeping the way they should, and they're just still overweight. But that skinny person on the right over here undereats and overexercises and is therefore damaging their organs. So when you first look at the two, if you just look on the outside, you might think that the quote skinny person is the image of, good health or whatever, or how it might just be what you're trying to achieve. You might look at this person on the right and say, "Hey, that is what I want. That is what I want to be." But if you look under the surface and you see the difference, you see what all the exercise and healthy eating is actually doing for the person on the left who's trying to lose the weight and who is slowly working on it. And you're seeing what the under eating and over exercising is doing to this person on the right. Now, which person would you plan to be? Would you strive to be? Now, I'm not saying that you need to go and gain a bunch of weight, but what I'm saying is what's on the outside does not always reflect what's on the inside. And here's two things I want to leave you with today. I'm going to leave you with two exercises, and I would really love it if you actually sat down and did these. And I did these, so I'd love it if you would too. But the first one is something that we all need to do, all of us, myself included, is just think more before we speak and really think about how the words that we're using can affect other people. To quote Thumper the Rabbit from Bambi, if you ain't got something nice to say, don't say nothing at all. I never really liked the movie Bambi, to be honest, but that's a really great quote. And Thumper was cute. I think I didn't like Bambi because the parents died. Anyways, back to the point though. So think about adjectives that you're using when you're describing other people and what they actually mean or how it would feel if someone would call you that. So pull out a piece of paper, the notepad on your phone, on your iPad, whatever the hell you got these days, and make a list of all of the common adjectives that you use. Look up some definitions if you need to, and just sit down and call yourself those names or those describing words and see how it makes you feel. Write it down. Write it down next to the list. So one of them could be tall. That's an easy one. Calling someone tall. That one's harmless, right? What about calling someone fat or skinny? Or saying, that big guy over there. Or even in regards to skin color, y'all, that black guy, that brown guy. Think about those things. Think about how, when you describe others, how it might make them feel, or how it would even just make you feel if someone called you those things. And the other exercise I have for you, this one, I'm actually going to post a photo of it on Instagram as well and on the show notes. So if you're not following me on Instagram, it's distress to joyful _ Bailey's Way. The link is in the episode. But I want you to go ahead and take a piece of paper and I want you to write the word healthy at the top. And under the word healthy, I want you to write down all of the things that come to mind when you think of that word. So I'm looking at my own list right now, and I'm going to tell you what some of mine are. For healthy, I think of eating lots of fruits and veggies, someone who doesn't drink sodas, someone who doesn't smoke, a happy person who practices gratitude daily, someone who takes vitamins regularly, someone who spends ample time in nature regularly, and somebody who reads self-help books or listens to encouraging content like podcasts and TED Talks. So those are just a couple on my list. I've got more on here, but these are some of the things that I think of when I think of the word healthy, when we describe a healthy person. These are the things that they're doing, that they're consuming, that they're enjoying. And the reason why I want you to make your own list is because I want you to figure out what being healthy means to you. And I want you to find a way to strive towards your version of healthy every single day. If you're interested, this is a little side note. I have a 60-day challenge that I created to actually help with things like this. I call it 60 Days Stronger. I'm currently in the middle of the third round right now, but we're going to start one on July 1st, and I'd love for you to join. So if you're interested, just sign up for the email list. You can go to the contact page on my website, and we'll get you set up for that when it comes around. But to close this episode for today, what I really, really would love for you guys to do is just to Do these quick little exercises, reflect on them, and figure out how you can implement little things each and every day to get you closer to the healthiest version of you, while along the way, you're just helping to make this world a better place. Spreading positivity will help spread more positivity. It's like wildfire. Release it into the wind. Just not in California. They've had enough of wildfires. So that was a terrible joke. Oh my God, that was terrible. Oh, sorry to any Californians out there. Anyways, guys, before we go today, it is time for What a Weirdo. And mine for today, it's going to sound really stupid, but I don't care because I love to climb on things, guys. To climb on things, but specifically things that you're not supposed to climb on. Like statues in parks that have signs that say not to. So, I'm gonna post some photos on Instagram for you to get a good visual of what I mean, but y'all, my little rebel child that has always lived inside of me since, I was a child, is still alive and well, and this little rebel child is always encouraging me to have fun and break rules. Yo, I was that kid that would climb the fence when we weren't supposed to and jump into the neighbor's yard and I'd get in trouble. We would climb on the roof. We would climb on trees. I just like to climb on stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm short. I'm only 5'3", and when you climb on something, you just feel so much taller. Or maybe because I would just feel strong. Because if you climb something, you're pulling your body weight up. So like you're feeling strong. I don't know what it is, but I just love climbing things. And one of the most recent ones that I've wanted to do for years, I'm definitely going to post this photo on the internet. But there are these statues near Buffalo Bayou. So if you're a Houstonian, then you probably know what I'm talking about. If you're driving west on Allen Parkway and it's like near Montrose, I think, maybe that exit. But there are these statues, and they're big old statues, and it's just people, like, kneeling, and I don't know why, but I have always wanted to just go sit in their lap. Always. It's just this weird thing I've always wanted to do, and one time, Monish and I, we were on a walk, and we walked past them, and I stopped and turned around, and I just went and climbed up and sat on its lap, and without even having to ask him, Monish just pulls out his phone and starts taking photos of me, and right then and there, I was like, "Oh, he's definitely the one. I'm keeping him forever," because I just sat there, and I was just so happy to be sitting on the lap of this statue, sitting outside of the Buffalo Bayou Park Trail, and he was just more than okay with it. He was photographing me. It was great. I can't tell you why I've wanted to do that, but I did it, and I was beaming, and I told him it was a great day, and I'm beaming right now just thinking about that moment. It's so weird. But hey, it makes me happy, so who cares, right? It was harmless for the most part, as far as I'm aware. Alrighty, well, what you can expect for next episode is we're going to talk about how to have difficult conversations and set some boundaries with those that we love. This next episode is going to get a lot of thanks from a book that my therapist actually recommended and that I read in, I want to say in like December or January of, this past December or January. But the book is called Boundaries and it's written by Henry Cloud. So if you want to peep the show notes real quick to find the link for this book, if you're an overachiever just looking to get a little head start, which I, am all for that. I can be an overachiever too. So people like you are just like me. That's a little bit rambling, but yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about next episode. And I'm excited. You're excited. Let's all be excited. And thank you for tuning into the show. Whether this was the first episode you've listened to or, the millionth, I appreciate each and every one of you taking time out of your day to learn some things with me. Yeah, thank you. And if you enjoyed the episode, take a screenshot of it, post it on your social media, and tell people what you enjoyed. Get them on board. We need more friends. We could always have more friends, right? The more the merrier. And help spread the word about how much you've been enjoying this podcast by leaving reviews. I've got reviews on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called, and I would love for you to add to that. I think one of these days I'm going to just have a quick little bonus episode where I just read the reviews and thank you guys personally because y'all, those really, they melt my heart. I'm very vulnerable and I put a lot out here on the internet. And so hearing how much it inspires, I'm tearing up, hearing how much it inspires and encourages others, like that's what this was about. I love hearing that from you guys. And if you haven't told me that yet and you want to, I would appreciate it so much. So leave a girl a review. I would really appreciate that. Oh, I'm glad you can't see me because there are tears down my face. Awkward. Not awkward. I'm in a closet by myself. Whatever. Alrighty, y'all. But until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye.